Welcome to the LifeWork Podcast. We are joined again in this episode by the inimitable Bill Jeffery. Enjoyed our conversation last time, getting to know things about you I did not know about you and about others related to you, especially Andy Miller. But I want to dig down a little deeper into the life of Bill.
Okay.
And this one I want to dig into about calling, your sense of God's vocational purpose, God's vocational calling in your life, and how that has played out. In our last episode, you disclosed in your own mind you're a legend on the electric guitar. You got to be pretty good in a couple of bands. Obviously, you're not doing that now. Was there ever a thought that that would be a professional direction, a way for you to become a professional musician?
Yeah, I still have emails where I sent Charlie Hall a request to join his band when I was kind of at a fork in the road. And so
to our listeners,
yeah,
who is Charlie Hall?
Charlie Hall, at the time, he was one of the premier worship leaders at Passion, and then just on the scene of all the contemporary worship people. So you had his name, David Crowder, and Chris Tomlin, and they pretty much...
Charlie probably never got any emails about, hey...
So we opened up for him. Now, it sounds like a big deal, but it was because he was coming to Walnut Street.
All right.
And so we had an in with the youth pastor, and so we opened up for him, and that's when we got to hang out, and we're setting stuff up, and I said, hey, our set list, we're going to do 3 songs before y'all play. We're going to play Marvelous Light, Give Us Clean Hands, and then another one of his songs. I can't remember what I said. And they all started laughing.
So transparent.
And Charlie Hall goes, I will pay you to play those songs, because those were their 3 biggest songs at the time. And so it was kind of like this joke of, we're going to play your songs. And but then we had fun. He read from the Valley of Vision in the green room before we all, went out and got the concert going. And so he had a really big impact on me, and they were losing a guitar player at the time. So I knew all of this, this was a year later.
You saw an opening.
Yeah, so I sent him a song that I'd written and that was, pretty decently recorded, and said, I like writing, I like doing all these things, love playing guitar. And obviously in hindsight, I might be good enough today to join a band like that, but I was nowhere near good enough to join his band at that time. But yeah, I definitely put myself out there to join.
Did you get a response to your inquiry?
I did not. Or it went to my spam folder. So one of those 2 things could have happened.
Yeah, keep telling yourself about the spam. That's what it went to the spam. Yeah. So the professional musician gig didn't work out.
Yeah.
So you're in college now.
Yeah.
We left the story. You're in Williams.
Yep.
You are a Christian ministries major.
Yep.
And you're thinking that ministry direction is going to be what?
Well, I thought my first summer at Centrifuge was at Carson Newman in Jackson City, Tennessee, and we had such a great time playing music, teaching the Bible study. I was teaching 7th and 8th graders, and I was teaching the religions and cults class, and as well as exploring a call to ministry. So I come back from that whole summer thinking, I want to really start pursuing youth ministry or something of that. So I met with a couple different people in this area about looking to become their youth pastor. But then at that point, I was needing to make a decision. Should I move forward with that while we're also getting scheduled with the band to do D-Nows from churches we met at Centrifuge? And the reason that Centrifuge was so big for us was because that was the same summer that Union was hit by a tornado. Mm-hmm. So they closed down their camps. So ours went...
My oldest son was there when it got hit by the tornado.
Really?
Yes. He was in one of the dorms that got hit.
Did he lose everything, or because there were a couple that got flattened, right?
Yeah.
So because that happened, they didn't have Centrifuge. And so our camp went from having 250 to 300 per week to having over 600 every single week. So our camp got really full, and then we got a lot of calls. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to be a youth pastor while the band is literally paying me good money to be gone with them on the weekends, and then we're getting placed for the next summer at Centrifuge. So it was kind of do I want to keep doing the band thing, or do I want to go ahead and start the lifelong pursuit of being a youth pastor and, discipleship pastor, senior pastor, all that? And I decided to go the band route. So we kept playing music, and then I did that every summer during college and almost every other weekend, and helped pay for my living.
But you're not doing that now. So
Not doing it now, yeah.
Somewhere there was a pivot moment.
Yeah.
And when was that pivot moment, and what was that pivot moment?
Yeah. My senior year here, I met a girl named Jeffery, or Taylor Toon at the time. She was a junior who transferred in, and she was good friends with our Betty Gale Jones was her mentor. So I knew Taylor through reputation that, hey, here's a like-minded, great Christian girl from Batesville, and I'm a great guy from Jonesboro, and we have all these connections, and now we're at school together. Then we get in this parenting class together, taught by Dr. Gregory, and sure enough, she eventually took the bait, and I tricked her into going on a date with me. We brought a third wheel with us, and so that happened in the spring of 2011, and then graduated, worked at Walnut Street, and then moved off to seminary. And that was when the band stuff was over for me. I did one or two more events with the Christian Baxter Band, but then they moved on.
Is that still a band today?
No, not anymore. Life happened in some hard and complicated ways, and it was clear that the season needed to end. But the beautiful part is that everybody's still making music in some context, so just in different places and roles now. So like our drummer, for example, who recorded with us in 2011 and played with us the year before that too, and then all the way until it ended. He is now the music director and drummer for King and Country. He is a phenomenal drummer. He's gone on a world tour with Judah and the Lion. And
an alum?
No, I wish. He's been on campus before. We've had band practices here and meetings here and all that, but he's from Pocahontas.
Why am I just now hearing this?
I've probably told you.
You have not told me. You have not told me this.
Yeah. And our drummer before him, he's an official member of Bird Talker, which is like a signed, really big band. He went on tour with, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a Christian artist, and one of his videos went viral for him doing a Woo Pig Sue. He had a concert. He was a good drummer. And then I was roommates with a guy named Landon in Cash Hall. He was a freshman. I was a senior. I was just randomly looking him up a few years ago, and he's a contract drummer now in Nashville, and he's just a big drummer. A guy I went to high school with, he's the drummer for the production of Hamilton, like the official one that travels. And it's like, I should have been a drummer. Like all these friends are great drummers.
You thought the electric guitar was going to get you.
Yeah, and now I play maybe every other month at church.
Yeah.
So,
well, back to my question.
Okay, yeah.
When was the pivot moment?
Yeah.
So the band thing peters out.
Yep. Okay, so here it is. I gave my life to Jesus right before 7th grade. I came to Williams. I was doing all the right things. I was reading all the books. I was at church every Sunday, whether it be at Walnut Street or at Compass. And when I got to Kansas City, it was like
for seminary.
For seminary, yeah. I moved there to start at Midwestern. And I was going to church where Toby was, and then some other alums from Williams were there. And it was almost like another eye-opening, what felt like for the first time, to the gospel. So everything that I thought would make a successful church based off my experience and what we were being taught about, here's coming trends and here's what the new disciple needs to learn, they were just doing it. They were doing that, but in an old school format that seemed so counterintuitive. So like hour-long sermons in an old 1800s church. But the pastors just articulated the gospel so clearly every single Sunday. And I had the opportunity to join the staff my first month there because they needed a video and communication intern.
Okay, so that's a new dynamic you've just introduced in the conversation. Where did that come from? How did that come to pass?
So I've always liked guitar stuff, and I'm like, well, to be a heard electric guitar player, you've got to know how to do some sound stuff, which then kind of trickles into, okay, maybe you need to know how to operate a soundboard, how to record, how to do, if you can do audio, then you can do video. So it just kind of spiraled into the guy who kind of tinkered in all the different areas of video production, communication, all those things. So I was doing that at Walnut Street for my supervised ministry project at Williams. And I remember Dr. Gore saying, in a perfect world, this is what we hope for. You get your supervised ministry project, and then the church hires you. I'm like, well, that will never happen. Well, that actually did happen for me. I did my supervised internship, went away that summer to do band stuff, and I came back on salary at Walnut Street doing media and communications. Then I moved to Kansas City. I tell them that they heard that I did some video stuff, and they're like, well, hey, we can go and hire you to do this. And I was like, I need a job. And I was surrounded by all these volunteers who were professionals, who worked for like all the big news companies, who were making, $5,000 to photograph a wedding. I had them all as volunteers training me how to do all these things. So it was like just the fast track way of learning all the cool stuff and getting to work with professional gear, and then being even closer and rubbing shoulders with all the pastors and staff who are doing church in a way that just really resonated with my soul and kind of what I was longing for to experience. So
the trajectory was to a ministry in a local church, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you went to seminary, you graduate. Yeah, are you married by now?
So first semester I was there in Kansas City.
Got it.
Was 2013 or 2012, and I took a gap year between college and seminary. I'm in Kansas City starting seminary. Taylor is in Canada doing a 5-month mission trip with NAM.
Okay.
And then she gets back, and we get married in January of 2013.
Okay.
She gets hired on at the church too as the receptionist. And so we're married. We're both starting at the church together. The Christian Baxter band's in my rearview mirror. And we are setting our sights on, what do we want to do? Do we want to move back to Canada? Or she wanted to go back to Canada at the time. There was a big emphasis in her family to be foreign missionaries. Mm-hmm. And so there was that, like, what should we do in that realm? Or should we look at a local church here? Should we stay at Redeemer? We didn't know what to do at the time. And then in April, I get a phone call from Keith Baker at Walnut Street saying, hey, Bill, we want you back. We want you full time. And the other thing is we'll help with seminary. And I was like, check. That's God's timing and his providential calling on our lives to get us into full-time ministry, to offset the cost of seminary, and to help a young married couple, establish roots in an area that we are familiar with in Jonesboro. Obviously, it was providential, but the other side was it was an opportunity to go back through the school of hard knocks because we hadn't quite peaked in where we needed to be with our understanding and direction of this newfound love to. And again, this is no slam against Walnut Street or against Williams in any way, but at that point, I just hadn't fallen in love with reading the Bible, and Redeemer helped me do that, and in seminary too, we're helping with that. But it was really the church that was shepherding me in that way, and I was like, man, I want to recreate that feeling and that experience for others back in Jonesboro, and didn't know that I was still too immature, too young, too idealistic, too optimistic, and all those things to do that. So yeah, those next 2 years at Walnut Street were really tough for me, but only because I was just immature. It was nothing had changed about them. It was still a great church that helped form me. And I remember my last day there, Glenn Putman, he was like, hey, I really do wish you the best as you go into your next adventure, and don't ever think that for 1 second that you're not a loved son of this church and that we're proud of you. And, that was just really just gracious of him, because I was like, again, just a thorn in the flesh during those 2 years while I'm trying to wrestle through all these things. And so, yeah, then I went into Brooklyn Baptist Church in Brooklyn, and as the discipleship pastor, with my best friend who was the pastor there, had been there for about 5 years, and he that's Billy Becker, and he was roommates with Ryan Putman when they were in college here at Williams. So yeah, that was a sweet 2.5 years that didn't end the way I wanted it to, but but Bill and I left at the same time, and that's what brought me here.
You get here obviously under the providence of God. Was it a calling, or was it just a place to land?
A place to land.
Okay.
Yep.
So where in this story does it pivot from just a place to land till I figure it out to, maybe God is calling me into the ministry of Christian higher ed?
Yeah. So context.
I'm assuming he has.
Yes. Yeah. Most assuredly. I hope so. So those 2 years that I spent at Brooklyn, I was teaching every Wednesday night, teaching like surveys of the New Testament, the Old Testament, going through systematic theology, church history, the theology of Scripture. Like I was building these resources because this is what I learned in seminary to do. And my life was wrapped up in reading, understanding, communicating the Bible, meeting with other guys at Starbucks at 4:30 a.m. in the morning because that was the only time that they could do it before work. That was my life, and I thought that was going to be the rest of my life. So when it all came to an abrupt stop, I felt just confused, out of control for sure, and directionless, and really disappointed with my life. And how did I get to this point so early in life? And then at that point too, I had Eleanor, and
your daughter for our listeners. Yeah.
So she was young. We had just bought a new house in Brooklyn, and it all ended. And I'm like, well, there's a job open at Williams. I could go do that for a little bit and just see what happens. And it felt safe to come here. It felt like what felt like exile turned into, I wouldn't say the promised land because that's getting some metaphors out of place, but it felt comfortable, felt relaxed, welcoming. I mean, everything wasn't perfect when I got here, but it was definitely the safest place to land and the support I needed, and in unexpected ways too.
What were the responsibilities you assumed when you came here?
Entry-level admissions counselor, soon to be 30-year-old married guy with a kid, and I'm going to go out on the road and do some recruiting.
I bet you were pretty good at it.
Well, I understood high schoolers at that time better than the average fresh out of college student. And it's because I'd spent time, working with the youth when I was at Brooklyn and Walnut Street. And so like I knew what their fears were, I knew what their problems were, I knew what it would take to get them to college and how to communicate with them and to be comfortable. So I'm spending a long time on the road, and I'm listening to podcasts because I'm like, I really want to get good at this business stuff, and I want to get better at the recruiting side of things. At that point, I was already a pretty good videographer and photographer, and thought, like, let's sharpen those skills up. Maybe I could parlay that into a new job here or somewhere else and go freelance. And so I'm just kind of testing the waters of what can my life look like outside of ministry. And so yeah, being on the road allowed me the time to get smarter and listen to new things and be exposed to new resources. So
you said something there I want to latch on to and explore with you a little bit. Outside of ministry was the phrase that you used.
Yeah.
So we are really trying to recast that, relanguage that here at Williams into God has a calling on all of us. Followers of Jesus have a call to ministry.
Yep.
And that call to ministry could be in a local church expression. It could be in a different ministry expression in the marketplace somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
So now interpreting your calling.
Yeah.
And looking at what you're doing and all that you're doing, how are you interpreting what God is doing in your life in terms of calling?
Yeah. Let me add that I grew up during a time and at different churches when I heard often that if God calls you into ministry, you can't do anything else with your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it in my mind, like ingrained, that if I'm going to pursue vocational ministry, I can't take a break from it. I can't go work anywhere else. All these, like this was my understanding not because of what the Bible says, but because of what I'd heard this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm struggling with that. Taylor's struggling with that. Are we supposed to be back in a church ministry setting? And then we found ourselves at your house over a cup of tea with you and Joy.
I remember that.
I do too, very vividly. And that was when that had that aha moment, kind of like the eyes opening of, hey, what if this was God's calling on my life? And that maybe what I've seen is like, maybe I feel disappointed about how my life got to this point. Maybe I need to reframe all of that and see how this is God's goodness, His training, His expertise, His kindness toward me to send me through all those things. to bring me to this point, to be here, to be called here, and to and not to just go through the motions of I've got to do the job so that other people can have their experiences and these things, but really enjoying it, and seeing it for the bigger picture of what it is that I get to have a huge effect on individual lives, whether they're collegiate, faculty, or staff. Like, I have a unique responsibility that I get to share the story of Williams and can create things in a way that capture the heart of what we're trying to do here, that not only am I proud of, but that really help us.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels right, and I see the bigger purpose of what it's accomplishing, and I'm really thankful for it.
So in light of what you've learned up to this point in your life journey, and as God continues to work in your life for the redemption story he has for you, if you were, again, an admissions counselor, knowing what you're knowing today and all that you're doing, what would you tell Bill that you're recruiting to come to school at Williams, who is looking for a calling, who is trying to find his purpose in life? What would you say to that Bill about this is the overarching thing you need to understand about God and his purpose and calling for your life? It is what?
No matter what you think is the perfect path and the perfect calling, and whatever age you think you're going to be there, God has a better purpose and a better path and a better plan. And not to make the pitch about Williams here, but if you do come to Williams, you get to limit a lot of the risks that you're facing and fearing by being educated in a way like I was here at Williams, where you're trained to not what to think, but how to think. You're exposed to all these different disciplines where you get to become a lifelong learner and skill developer, and you can pivot into different career paths whenever you need to, whether it's out of necessity or out of desire. You're going to be okay because you're going to get your education here from people who care about you, people who love you, who invest in you. Yeah, so what was the question again? Sorry, I kind of got into counselor mode there. But
what would you say to incoming freshman Bill about calling, about ministry, and about how God can shape that in ways that go outside what you've been told and outside the norms of what most people think about when they think of calling and ministry?
Yeah. For calling, hold on to God when life does get super hard and you feel like he's against you, or that you've done something that can't be redeemed, or he's moved on to the next person to fulfill your lifelong goal so that he can have his purposes accomplished. He's not doing that. He's saying, hang on, I'm going to take you where I need you to go, where I want you to go, and you're going to be okay. You're going to be loved, and in time, you're going to see the work and the plans that I have for you in ways that you never expected. And if you were to make that plan yourself, you would definitely screw it up. So hang on, follow me, and let's
how has your understanding of ministry changed?
Yeah, I can be just as influential and effective for kingdom purposes in what I'm doing as I was when I was full-time a discipleship pastor.
When did you come to that realization? What was that aha moment for you?
Probably a year ago, when I took on a couple extra Williams Work students and realized that I was in their shoes at one point, and that guys like me in their life had big aha moments and big breakthroughs. And I'm not going to help them 100 steps of the way in their Christian journey, but I can help 2 or 3.
Yeah, I
can teach them what it's like to feel safe with the boss and to be cared for, and to know that, like, hey, you can screw up and you're going to be okay. You're going to be forgiven. But let's get back to learning. Let's get back to working. Let's get back to all these things and teach them the work ethic side of things where they enjoy their work and they see that, like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to make a video as a youth pastor, well, I guess that's a bad example because every youth pastor's making videos now, but all the skills that they can be learning I want them to be lifelong skills. And again, of like how to think for yourself, not like, hey, you've got to use this program, you've got to have this political ideology, you got to have, no, think for yourself, learn to use your own brain. That's huge for students.
Last word, 1 minute. What is a takeaway you want all of our listeners to know about the purpose of God and calling?
I don't know if Knucklehead Bill would have been told any of this at 18 and received it, because I'm sure everybody was saying it. But it's hard for me to imagine a world where you can pursue your purpose and calling, feel the fulfillment, feel the experience of what it's like to enjoy your work, to love your life too, and to not think, okay, when I clock out, I gotta work off and start thinking about my personal life. And dive into the Word of God, fall in love with Him, and those intricacies will work themselves out. That's best I can say it, I guess.
That's a good thing to say. So, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Glad to do it. Yep.